Hey, what's going on out there? I'm Sean Devine, and today we're doing a video on compression. This is something that a lot of people have difficulty with. I know that I battled with compression when I was first starting out, just really understanding the terminology of the different processes of compression and really being able to hear what it does and just how to use compression the right way. So I want to very quickly go over these different functions of a compressor, let you hear what it's supposed to sound like, and just talk about it in a way that hopefully is easy to understand, easy to digest, and will have you more comfortable with compression very, very soon. Let me go ahead and play back a hip hop verse that I recorded a couple months ago, and I'm going to leave the compressor up just so that you can see the way that it's reacting with the signal and just get a feel for what it sounds like. And then I'm going to actually reset the compressor. We're going to do it from scratch. I'm going to show you some of these controls and what they do, and just kind of give you a better explanation of how this compression is working. So let me go ahead and play this back.
I've been beating on the drum since day one, feeling music in my soul. When I had to run from all the pain in my life, white collar people chasing after bottles. Ain't nobody tell you that the promise stay coming in, even if you got money and you hungry for the love of something bigger. I practice ball all day in my parents' driveway, gloves on, coat zip, 30 points a game like MJ. And my mama fell down, everything changed. Doctor said she probably wouldn't see another day. Paralyzed, left side, not mine. Wrong time, I let these hoop dreams die. I'm hanging with the wrong crowd, focus on the foolishness I need to move through this. Playing on a drum kit 7 hours daily, bothering my neighbors might have drove my family crazy. I was living like a hooligan, doing things I never do again. God forgive me, music saved my life.
All right, so that gives you an idea of what we're working with. Let me go ahead and I'm going to load up that channel and just take off some of the other effects that may make it difficult to hear exactly what the compressor is doing. So I'm going to turn those off. And then I'm going to go over here to our compressor and I'm just going to reset this to a default setting. Just clear it out completely. So we're going to do this again from scratch. First thing let's do is just talk about each of these controls on our compressor. Now, whether you're using the Pro C or any compressor, they're going to be generally the same. You're going to see threshold, you're going to see ratio, attack, release. A lot of these same controls, they all work the same way. So you're going to be able to apply this across the board to whatever compressor you're using. First control here is input level. This is doing exactly what that says. It's just controlling the input signal level. So let's say you had a really loud takeover here and you wanted to just kind of turn that down a little bit before it's going into the compressor, we could do so. Or if you wanted, again, to boost it, if you had a really quiet take, you could go ahead and boost it before going into the compressor. Pretty simple there. Next, let's go over to our threshold. The threshold just describes the point at which we will begin compressing the signal. So for instance, if I have this at minus 20 dB, that means that until the input signal crosses minus 20 dB, it will not compress anything less than that. It will begin compressing everything above that point all the way up to 0 dB. So all of that stuff in the signal beyond minus 20 will be running through the compressor. So how this is effective in terms of your vocal, let's say that you had some parts of the vocal, for instance, in this take, we have some louder stuff. Let's say this stuff is hitting, minus 15 dB. This quieter stuff is at like minus 25, let's just say. If we were to set this at minus 20, then this stuff is not going to get compressed, only the louder parts of our signal. So if you had it's set way up here, then you're only going to be compressing the super loud parts of your signal. Versus if we put it all the way down, say at minus 36, we're essentially going to be compressing everything, even the quiet stuff. And if you have a noisy signal that, hopefully you don't have noise going above minus 36 dB, it would compress that though. So just something to keep in mind. Now, after that, we have our ratio, which the ratio can be a little bit confusing, but the ratio just describes the relationship between the signal and the compression that's going to be applied. So, as you watch, you can watch this graph right here, but as I move the ratio up, it's going to more heavily compress our signal that goes above the threshold. Okay, that's the easiest way to think about it. The more you go, or the higher the ratio, the more compression that's going to be happening. So you also see this style control. This is a pretty common thing that comes on a lot of plug-in compressors. And my recommendation for this would just be to dial in a setting that you feel good about with just the default style on your compressor. And then you can go through and select some different types just to see what works best for you, what you think sounds best. They're really just usually emulations of like a hardware compressor, the way that they react. Moving on over here, we have attack. This is how quickly the compressor will engage. So if you wanted to retain some transients, maybe some like sharp consonant types of sounds in your vocal, you could turn this attack to slower. And that would just mean that it's not going to engage for 122 milliseconds. So that would essentially, if you had like a quick kick or something, it's not going to have time to engage the transient of that. So that's the use of attack. In a hip hop vocal, we're going to be keeping the attack fast most of the time. Again, it just depends on how you want to do it, but I usually will use a fast attack. But going on to release, this just controls how quickly the compressor is going to let go of our signal or return to an uncompressed signal. So you can just mess with that again to taste. But I'm going to show you some optimal settings for a hip hop verse here. Now, obviously, you are going to have an output level, and in some cases, you'll have a dry mix. So the dry mix is just mixing in our uncompressed signal with our compressed signal. This can be useful if you're going for, just a certain type of sound. It can thicken things if you mix in the dry level and you want to retain a little bit of the original dynamics of it. You can use that. But the output level, a lot of times when we compress, we're going to be quieting the signal a little bit so we can adjust that afterwards with our handy output level rather than having to reach for a fader on our mixer. So now that we've talked about all of the controls, or most of them here, we've got one other thing is this auto button. You'll see that happen a lot on your release. And this is just kind of a smart control to just give you an easier way of setting the release time. I usually will turn that off and do it myself. Again, you can play with it. If you're not as comfortable with setting your release, you can try an auto setting. Now that we've gone over the controls in the compressor, let's go ahead and start compressing our verse. So I have a ratio of 2:1 set just so that we can see what the compressor is doing. I'm going to slowly move the threshold back until it starts engaging, and we'll talk a little bit more about it at that point.
I've been beating on the drum since day one, feeling music in my soul. When I had to run from all the pain in my life, white collar people chasing after bottles ain't.
So you can watch this over here and see when the compressor is engaging.
I've been beating on the drum since day one, feeling music in my soul. When I had to run from all the pain in my life, white collar people.
Let's go over to this quiet section and see where that's going to be.
Mama fell down, everything changed. Doctor said she probably wouldn't see another day. Paralyzed, left side, no mind, wrong time. I let these hoop dreams die.
That's all catching. Now you probably noticed that I used a high compression ratio on this particular verse when we looked at the original compression settings. And the reason is because there are some quieter spots, some louder spots. And I really just wanted to kind of bring everything to a level that was going to be easily heard. And just for this particular vocal, it just felt right. So I'm going to slowly move the ratio up and let you hear that affecting it.
I've been beating on the drum since day one, feeling music in my soul. When I had to run from all the pain in my life, white collar people chasing after bottles. Ain't nobody tell you that the problem stay coming in, even if you got money in.
So it gets quieter, it gets a lot flatter. So we can turn that to somewhere in there.
I've been all day in my parents' driveway, gloves on.
Again, attack with hip hop verses, I will usually use a fast attack, and release, we're going to slow that down. Or excuse me, we're going to speed that up a little
All
bit.
day in my parents' driveway, gloves on, coat zip, 30 points a game like him.
200 to 300 milliseconds is usually pretty safe for a typical hip hop verse. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the gain up just so that we can compensate for the compression happening.
All day in my parents' driveway, gloves on, coat zip, 30 points a game like MJ. And my mama fell down, everything changed. Doctor said she probably wouldn't see another day. Paralyzed, left side, no mind. Wrong time, I let these hoop dreams die. I'm hanging with the wrong crowd, focus on the foolishness. All day in my parents' driveway, gloves on, coat zip, 30 points a game like MJ. And my mama fell down, everything changed. Doctor said she probably wouldn't see another day. Paralyzed, left side, no mind. Wrong time, I let these hoop dreams die. I'm hanging with the wrong crowd.
Let me put my effects back on now.
All day in my parents' driveway, gloves on, coat zip, 30 points a game like MJ. And my mama fell down, everything changed. Doctor said she probably wouldn't see another day. Paralyzed, left side, no mind. Wrong time, I let these hoop dreams die. I'm hanging with the wrong crowd, focus on the foolishness I need to move through. This, playing on a drum kit 7 hours daily. Bothering my neighbors, might have drove my family crazy.
That feels pretty good. I think that's really close to the original. Again, the important thing with this is that you're going to need to just play with it and use your ears. But I'm hoping that through these fairly simple explanations that I just showed you, you're going to have a better understanding of what exactly the compression is doing. You're still going to have to, again, use your ears to figure out what works best. But at least you understand the different controls. And then you're going to be able to get more comfortable with compression quickly. Or at least that's what I hope this video will help you to do. So if this was helpful in any way, if you learned anything, please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.